Hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar, The Dangers of Secondhand Software and Regulation of Microsoft Windows Keys, which is being brought to you by Microsoft and Smart. I'm Jill Willis and I'll be your host today for what we think is going to be a really fast-paced and interesting discussion. So first, let me extend a special welcome to the audience who are joining us. That includes Microsoft Authorized Refurbishers, third-party refurbishers, and a whole host of firms who are involved in the second-hand device market. Now, we're very mindful that many of you are coming with varying degrees of experience in software compliance. So rest assured, we've designed this session to make sure that it is accessible and provides valuable insights for everybody. So what can you expect in this 45-minute session? So we're going to be covering off the risks of using non-legitimate Microsoft Windows keys. We're going to look at best practice for software legitimacy. And we're also going to talk about how refurbishers who are playing by the rules can win more business. So right up front, I'm going to just identify and point out for you that Q&A icon right at the top of the viewing window. If you click on that, you'll be able to jot down some questions as we're running through. And then towards the end, we've saved some time to make sure that our panel can come to those questions and answer them for you today. So just pop them in as and when. Now, let me introduce our distinguished panel. First, we have Sanja Timotijevic, who is Antipiracy lead at Microsoft. We have Jakob Haido, Senior Partner Development Manager at Microsoft. And we also have Ben Daniels, who's Client Success Manager at Smart. So hello from everybody. So let's kick things off for you with a quick introduction from each of our panelists. Sanja, could you kick us off?
Yes, thank you so much, Jill, and thank you for having me today. So I'm Antipiracy lead overseeing EMEA region. I work for Microsoft for more than 14 years, and in this role, as you can imagine, I mean, I'm overseeing the region, which is super fragmented, containing developed markets, emerging markets, but also high piracy rated countries. So I believe that with the events like this one, I'll be, I'm grateful to share my experience and to talk about trends and, share some valuable insights with the audience. Thank you so much.
And Jakob?
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Jakob. I'm based in Stockholm, and I've been working at Microsoft for 9 years. And my role today is a partner development manager. So I'm responsible for our local OEM partners in the Nordics and the Benelux.
And Ben?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Ben. I'm based in the UK. I work for Foxway, specifically in our smart division. So for those that don't know, Foxway is a leader in circular tech that's kind of trying to redefine how we consume technology. So we have a load of different areas of the business, from sourcing, selling, and that's all across the tech sector. So as part of Foxway, Smart actually focuses on supporting refurbishers of all sizes. So that could be individual refurbishers all the way up to kind of the OEMs and the larger scale of that as well. So we provide, what Smart does is specifically provide tools, expertise and guidance to refurbishers under the Microsoft Refurbisher program to help them stay compliant, deliver quality products and grow their business. My role specifically and my passion is actually helping refurbishers navigate some of these complexities around licensing, imaging, driver installation. So thank you.
That's brilliant. Thanks, everybody. So to get us all on the same page, I think from the get-go, I'll hand over to Jakob to take us through the Microsoft Authorized Refurbisher program. And I think you've got some exciting new data to share with us today, haven't you?
Yes, I do, Jill. Thank you very much. So, we just closed calendar year 2024, and we could see that we refurbished and relicensed through our MAR and refurbished program 3.3 million devices, which I think is fantastic. And having that in mind, we just we're just touching close to 50% of what's really being sold out there. So, and I also got some good data that we received from Gartner, and looking at the total addressable market of 24 million Windows PCs devices. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic window of opportunity to do some business here. And I would also like to quickly run through what the Microsoft Authorized Refurbishers program is. So it's basically a licensing, marketing, and a distribution program designed for large refurbishers. MAR partners shall professionally supply refurbished PCs with pre-installed genuine Windows software to businesses, consumers, and non-profits, and that is including schools. So that's what the program is designed for. Now let's quickly touch upon the program, the goals of the program. So the first goal is to make Windows genuine software available through digital keys. So we stopped with the physical COAs. Now we distribute our licenses 100% digital. And that is to make sure that everything, is being tracked and monitored in a compliant way. The second part is that we want to raise the quality and the overall experience of refurbished PCs for end customers, particularly the units that are sold through channel. Thirdly is to help to promote reuse of good quality Windows devices as part of our commitment to our environmental sustainability. And also to support digital inclusion with low-cost Windows devices. And I'm referring to non-profits, schools in third world countries, so on. So we want to be able to bridge that barrier. And looking into the actual business opportunity we have together with our partners, such as you, we can see that the market for Windows refurbished PCs is about to grow with 13%, reaching 7.6 million devices by 2027. That's it.
So the scope of opportunity is really, really growing fast. And I think that's been really helpful to just make sure that we start things off on the same page. And do drop questions in the chat if you're still unsure about kind of where you fit, I suppose, within that landscape. So that was really helpful. And I think now perhaps we'll come to you, Sanja. Could you perhaps provide an overview of software licensing and compliance?
Yes, definitely, Jill. Thank you for this. And if you don't mind, I would like, to share a little bit broader picture with you, because I believe that, understanding the whole situation will make us all, I would say, more compliant and more stick to the guidance that I'm going to share today. So as I said at the intro, since I'm overlooking the whole EMEA region, I can tell you that the world has completely changed, from the pandemic time. So from my perspective, it's not only about the way how we live and work, because, starting with the pandemic time, we are seeing more and more remote workers. And of course, it changes the way we work. But what happened during the pandemic is that the online sales has boosted, and actually it changed a lot the picture on piracy. So unfortunately, I have to say that piracy has increased exponentially from the COVID time, and not only in size, but in sophistication as well. And what we are seeing right now are really various scenarios and various types of piracy. And what happens is that the end customers, they're completely, confused with what is offered out there. So if you browse the web, you will be flooded with all kinds of offerings, specifically on Windows and Office. And, with all the guidance how to differentiate genuine from non-genuine, I believe that there is a struggle for the end customers. I'm always trying, to put myself in their shoes, and it's not easy. Because again, the offers are quite confusing. So those of us who remember, the old time, it was quite easy, I believe. In the old world, it was like counterfeit or pirated keys from one end, and then you had the genuine keys on the other hand. But these days, you have second-hand software as a new phenomena, and I will talk about it a little bit later. So the thing here is, and I would like, thank you, Ben. I would like to start with some basic stuff, because I would like, even I believe that the audience here has enough expertise on this. I would like to bring everybody on the same page. So I will start with explaining what the license is, because what I'm seeing from my practice is that a lot of customers are confused with the product key, and they're taking, license as a product key. So let me start first with the license. So license is kind of legal agreement between rights holder, and in this case, this is Microsoft, and the end customer on the other end. But customer is paying actually for using the software rights, but under certain conditions. And I will pause here because those are, the magic words here, under certain conditions, because it doesn't mean that, paying for the licensing rights, it will allow you to use whatever license. So you need to, follow the rules and to stay compliant, and, actually to make sure that those conditions are met. But as I said, a lot of customers are confused with what the product key is then. And then if you can go to the next slide, Ben, please. We are actually using the analogy with the physical key to an apartment. And I believe this is something that everybody understands. So having a product key doesn't mean that you're allowed to use the software, which means, for example, imagine that you have a physical key to an apartment. You can open the door, you can enter that apartment, but it doesn't mean that you rent the apartment or own the apartment. The same logic applies here. So it's about paying for the licensing rights in order to use, the right license. If you are not doing that in a compliant way and according to those licensing rights, we are talking about mislicensing, which is very common mistake, I believe. So now we know what the license and the product key is, and with that, I believe, again, going back to this information that can be found on the internet and the offers. So a lot of resellers are offering mere product keys. So 5 times 5 characters, digits, numbers. This is like only 5 times 5 characters printed. It's nothing on top of that, or printed on qua label, for example. So it doesn't mean that you are paying for the licensing rights. And this is something which I believe is the common mistake number one. And since Jakob and me, for example, we are coming from device partner organization, so we are partner-centric organization. So we have a limited reach toward the end customers. This is why we need your assistance in this to spread the word about this, because with your help, you can be an extended hand and actually, send this message toward the end customers that they actually need to pay for the licensing rights instead of buying the mere product keys. The next common mistake is, I believe, what is called the full underlying qualifying OS. Ben, if you can go to the next slide, please. So this is something that, as I said, this is like a common mistake number 2, that a lot of customers, they think if they own, for example, the enterprise agreement or volume licensing agreements with Microsoft, it will allow them to install Windows on the new devices, which is not the case, because all the agreements are only providing only upgrades. So what is needed is underlying full qualifying OS on, doesn't matter new or old device. So this is what is needed. And again, this is something that end customers, they need to understand this requirement. What you can find on this slide are 6 types of these full underlying Windows licenses. And since we don't have enough time, I won't go through it. But let me just briefly tell you that first 2 types, OEM and DOM, are actually OS pre-installed by the OEM on the factory floor. It doesn't matter if it's A brand or B brand partner. Then you have 3 sold through the distribution channel. So we now talk about standalone software, so the software in the box. And the third and the last one, and I will focus on this one because this is the subject of our discussion today, is MAR pre-installed license. So MAR license is a specific type of Windows license intended to come with the pre-installed PCs. And it is shipped only through refurbishing programs, so through MARs and TPRs. But both of them, they're entitled to this program only because there are certain standards, and by signing the MAR agreement, they're actually obliged to comply with those standards and those terms and conditions. This program is meant for refurbished PCs, and the only compliant bundle, let's call it like that, is a MAR license. So refurbished PC comes with a MAR license because, and I will come to this one, very often I've been questioned by actually the DPK, which is the product key which is found in the firmware, and if it can be used in this scenario. So long story short, the only compliant way which comes with the refurbished devices is a MAR license, full stop. And I'll come back to second-hand software and in the next slide. So if we can go there, please. But before that, just wanted to give you a quick guidance on how to tackle the authenticity question with customers, because this is what they are asking very often: how to be sure that the refurbished device they bought are actually, complied with all the standards. So easily, on a visual level, they should look for the GMRL. This is exactly the label that you can see on the screen. It stands for Genuine Microsoft Refurbisher label. And as Jakob mentioned, we don't have COAS anymore. So we stopped distributing COAS 3 years ago. So right now, the first proof of authenticity the end customer should look for on the refurbished device is actually this GMRL. All the details about this label can be found on How to Tell site, and there is a link in the presentation that you can find, together with the holographic image of the label and all the other details. So it's quite simple to double check if the label is genuine or counterfeit. Sometimes it can happen that it comes with, instead of GMRL, to come with GML, which is Genuine Microsoft label, but those are, let's say, exceptional cases. So ground rule on the refurbished device is to be equipped with GMRL. So this is the first differentiator. But the next thing which confuses end customers a lot is second-hand software. Let me put it this way. Second-hand software is something completely different from refurbished. I mean, probably in their mind, this is something which is, somehow connected, but let me tell you what is the main difference. I'll start with MAR. So MAR program is designed to ensure that refurbished PCs meet high quality standards and come with genuine Windows 11 pre-installed, which means we do offer this program only to selected partners, and I believe worldwide we don't exceed the number of 70 MAR partners in total, which means that we provide the Windows and Office on the discounted prices to make sure that this bundle together with the device is an excellent and high quality experience for the end customers. On the other hand, second-hand software is software which is already used and being resold or transferred. But the thing with the second-hand software is that absolutely, we do not oppose to it as Microsoft, and this is legal in most of the markets. And when I say in the most of the markets, it depends on the exhaustion of the distribution rights. So is it national or international? So you need to be, let's say, knowledgeable on the exhaustion of the distribution rights. But normally, we do not oppose to second-hand software, and let's say that second-hand software is legal. If some criteria is met. So this is super important thing here. Criteria has to be met because if someone is just claiming that something is second-hand software without providing evidence in a background, you need to be super careful with those cases, because from my experience, and I'll be super transparent here, what is called piracy in the old world is called second-hand software in the new world, and most of the resellers reselling this shady second-hand software are actually just hiding behind this umbrella of second-hand. So very short, on the second-hand software, it's legal, but be careful if all the criteria is met, and check. For example, one of the criteria is that the previous software has to be uninstalled, which means that it could have been that there are a lot of owners in this queue, so you need to make sure that all of them have uninstalled the software from the devices. Can we go to the next slide, please? Just to quickly tackle on this. So I would say my two key takeaways for you today. First one is be careful with second-hand software and always ask for additional proofs. Be careful also if the software is put on the market for the first time in your country or in your region, because it is also one of the prerequisites. And the second thing is comply with MAR program if you are selling refurbished devices, because not complying with the program will mean not obeying and not respecting the terms and conditions of MAR program, which is actually breaching the agreement. So I'll pause here and let's see maybe if there are maybe some other questions or topics that I haven't covered. Maybe we can cover it later on through the Q&A.
Thank you, Sanja. Wow, what a comprehensive overview. There's so much information packed into those slides. And I think just rest assured, audience, you didn't need to scribble it all down. It will all be available a few days after when we share the recording with you. The deck will be there. Ben, perhaps we can come to you at this point and you could share how SMART fits into this compliance piece.
Yeah, so Sanja, Jakob, Jill, thank you for sharing your oversights. I think it's really important that if we're going to put all of these rules and the programs in place, it needs to be easy to do, right? And that's really where SMART has come in. So as one of the largest Microsoft Authorized Refurbishers, we had the problem in-house ourselves, right? We were like, well, how do we make sure that every device that we're selling with Windows on complies under the program? So when it kind of landed on my desk, I was sat there looking at it thinking, well, we've got quite a few facilities across the world. How do we kind of roll it out so that it's consistent across the board? and looking at, you know, having to set up servers everywhere and make sure everyone's on the same page and guide them through how to use some of the programs. And that's not to say that, you know, Microsoft's tools are maybe overcomplicated, but what it meant is that we felt we could streamline it further, but also add value internally. And then as we were building this out, we thought, well, why wouldn't we offer it to TPRs, right, which is people under the third-party refurbisher program? So we thought, well, we'll build smart, we'll flesh it out, and that's kind of where we ended up today. So now we support over 500 plus refurbishers in over 45 different countries, and we've quickly realized that the need for it was there. And I think the points that I wanted to make was actually, when we look at some of the e-commerce platforms and we talk to the OEMs, it just becomes very apparent that what we're doing is adding value to the device beyond what Microsoft are offering as the license, beyond just, you know, re-imaging a device and shipping it out the door. So when we talk about compliance, when we talk about the value of the device, we want to make sure that any size refurbisher can come and know exactly what to do to comply, to grow their business, to, you know, have a tool that's user friendly. And that's pretty much what Smart does. So out of the box, we were able to say, right, you put this in your refurbisher warehouse, your techs can use it, or you can use it, and you'll be compliant under the MAR program. So you haven't got to worry about what license goes where. Are you using the right license? If you're using a MAR license under Smart, it's fine. It being user friendly obviously is a bonus. You know, we're providing some of the tools to make available to you guys, to the refurbishers, so that you can't get it wrong. And then finally, the scalability, right? Ultimately, we're all doing this because we want to grow our business. And I think, you know, what Jakob was saying about the market growing is that the only way we're going to grow is by winning, you know, more contracts, bigger contracts. And if we want to win this type of business, we have to be compliant, right? So no one wants to work with a business that isn't compliant. So that's kind of where we sit, you know, over it all. And what we really want to do actually is kind of push the educational piece to the end user, right? So what else can we do with on the likes of eBay, Amazon, back market, to make it so that when you're selling a device, it's not just the hardware that you're looking for a grade A, it's also the software that's a grade A, you know, it's compliant, it's legal. And the analogy that I always use, and I know a few of you have probably heard me say this a few times, but it's a bit like if I had two laptops and one of them was, you know, quite scuffed and the other laptop looked clean. And then I gave you the option. So I said to you, would you like the nice looking laptop or the scuffed laptop? And you said, well, I'll have the nice looking one. That's a grade A. I like the look of that. And then I turned both of them on in terms of the software piece. And I said, well, one of them doesn't have Windows. It keeps blue screening. And that's the clean one. But the scuffed one, you know, the software works. All the drivers are there. It's compliant. It's, you know, got the right license. Now, what device are people going to say they want? It's the one with the working software, right? So it's all well and good having a shiny piece of or a shiny laptop. But when it comes to the software piece, we have to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So, yeah. That's really all I've got. I think the only other point I want to make is, you know, what we're trying to do is beyond the GMRL, how can we help our refurbishers sell more? And what I mean by that is when the end user gets their device, how can they also verify that you have done the licensing piece, the software piece properly? And in our head, what we have started to build is this kind of website that you can go to. You can type a serial number, you know, your end user could type the serial number of a device in and instantly be told, yes, this is legal, this is compliant under the MAR program, this has undergone the licensing and product key that it needs to end up in your hands, right? Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I think what's come through first at the beginning, when Jakob shared that introduction, and what you're saying is that the scale of the opportunity is massive. And I think you've spoken to certainly the consumer and through the e-marketplaces, etc. there. Jakob, can you speak a little more to, I suppose, the enterprise and the government, the bigger trends that we're seeing in that landscape?
Absolutely. So we're seeing governments and enterprises reaching out to Microsoft and say, hey, we're looking into having like 25, maybe 30% of our devices being reused, refurbished. And they're asking us for guidance, who are the partners, and we, from Microsoft side, we point towards our MAR partners and our TPRs because it all boils down to trust. In the end of the day, we need to have partners that are trustworthy, that delivers on the compliance, that delivers the right type of software. So our end users and our enterprises can feel safe by buying the product. And we're seeing that across the board in the northern part of Europe where I work.
Okay, so thank you all. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I'm just checking the clock. It feels now like it will be a really good time to open the floor for some questions. Compliance challenges, business growth opportunities. There's been a lot, so it's really whatever everyone wants to ask. So please do submit your questions in that top navigator Q&A. We'll address as many as we can, but perhaps I can kick off. I'm not sure, Jakob, Sanja, Ben, who may want to answer this one, but there's one came in earlier. Why must we install a new license as the original DPK still exists in the device's firmware? Is the current Windows genuine or not?
Yeah. Maybe I can take that one because this is the most tricky one, I have to say. I mean, and I get this question very often. So, but the answer is really easy. First one, and I'm always, using this analogy. So no one is questioning why to pay for the hardware twice, but everyone is asking why to pay for Windows twice, which is not the case exactly. So first of all, the product key which is in the firmware belongs to an old machine which hasn't been refurbished yet, right? So that was, let's say, the device pre-equipped with pre-installed Windows at that time. When it's refurbished, because it is under the Refurbished program, as I already explained, the only compliant license is a MAR license, which has to be added to this device. So it's not about. I mean, it's not the question of is it illegal or not. It is the question of compliance. So under the refurbishing program, you simply agreed on certain terms and conditions. And again, it's not about Microsoft gaining the thinking of monetization. That's why the price of Windows or Office is so much discounted. It's about the customer experience, because this is the only way, if we make sure that the refurbished device is equipped with a MAR license, this is the only way how we can be 100% sure that the customer will get the ultimate, and the best customer experience with all the security features, with everything, which is equipped with the new Windows which comes with this device. Talking about piracy every day, I can tell you that, and again, you have a different scenarios in different markets. But I believe that, these security risks are not so, I think that most of the customers are underestimating those risks. And I can tell you that exposing the businesses to those risks, which are in 100% correlation with malware, and I can also provide some resources, some IDC white paper talking about this one. This is like 92% of the non-genuine licenses are correlated with the malware infection. So it's a very important thing to understand that it's not only about obeying the rules and playing by the rules and compliance, which is the big thing as well. but exposing the businesses to the security risks.
And Ben, in terms of the question around that often comes in around the challenges faced when dealing with non-legitimate Windows keys, can you answer that quite broad and generally? You're on mute, Ben.
I knew someone had to make the mistake. It had to be me, didn't it? Yeah, so I mean, there's plenty of challenges when it comes to you know, installing Windows, injecting the key. How do you make sure it's got the right key? I mean, we kind of focus around the actual operational process, right? So if you receive a device, you have wiped that device, you've sanitized it of data, and then you're on to the next piece. Well, you've decided that you want to sell that device with Windows on. So what's the quickest way, and dare I say it, the easiest way to install Windows, inject the key, and then confirm that you've done everything right? And then there's the after sales piece, which is things like, you know, if you sell a device and your customer does have an issue with the license, how do you support them with that? You know, so we've tried to build a range of tools, and we've got the dashboard where it shows you what hardware has been injected with what key. So we make it really easy to be able to look some of that stuff up. And I think that's the kind of thing that we're thinking about. I mean, my background's in kind of dealing directly with the customer, right? So I'm always kind of putting the refurbishers and their end customers first as to the kind of experience that we want them to have. So yeah, I think some of the bigger problems are having to understand maybe the technical aspect when it comes to setting up and becoming a MAR or a TPR. So we try to take some of that pain away. Then it could be little things like, how do you know that you can inject a Windows 11 key to a device that's supported, right? So we've thought about, well, when you load Smart, it can tell you, for example, this can't have a Windows 11 key because the CPU isn't supported, or TPM isn't enabled, or things like that. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible, not only for the business, but the actual technicians themselves who are doing these processes. How can we just really make their lives easier? And ultimately, again, it comes down to growing the business. So, yeah.
There's a question here around free upgrades. So what about free upgrade from Windows 7A, 8.1, Windows 10? Is that still available for everybody and still widely used by companies who are selling refurbished equipment? Who wants to pick that one up?
Who wants to take this one?
I can take this one. Yeah. We finished the free upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 11, so that one is not longer but available. But if you have Windows 10, you can still upgrade it for free, but not the 7 and the 8.
Okay. So have we got any other questions that anybody wants to ask, or indeed panel, have you got any burning questions that come up time and time again?
I can see a couple of questions in the chat from a few people. So I've got one here. It says, are there any other ways to tell if a device comes from a genuine Microsoft refurbisher other than the sticker? And I think I kind of did already mention a little bit about this. Obviously, the sticker, like Sanja and Jakob have said, is the first port of call, right? Make sure that you've got that sticker on the device. If you're selling it, or if you're buying a refurbished device, make sure that's on there. And I don't think there's any harm in asking the refurbisher as well to say, are you definitely doing it properly? But the other thing, like I said, is we're trying to think of ways, how can we go above and beyond, you know, and it could be things like, well, on the desktop of the refurbished device that someone buys is a little link that they click, and it loads up a website that, you know, says your serial number was refurbished on this date. And it's a bit like when we look at the automotive industry, when you buy a car, what's the first thing you check? The service history. You check, you know, to make sure that the MOT didn't fail and stuff like that. So we want to kind of recreate that for secondhand laptops, secondhand tech, right? So you can see, right, well, how many owners has it had? You know, has the hard drive been swapped out? And I know that we'll eventually get there one day with things like kind of digital passports for tech. But what we're trying to do specifically for licensing is to make sure that, yeah, you can see the serial number of a device, even see maybe who refurbished it, and what license is available on there. So, yeah.
Have we got any more questions that you want to cover off, Ben? We've probably got time for one more.
Yeah, sure. So I had one here. It says, are there any solutions for removing the keys in the BIOS? So, and that's, I think, to remove confusion for end users when a new installation could be required for whatever reason. Jakob, I don't know if you wanted to touch on this from a hardware level, but I can certainly cover off the solution side of it.
Yeah, so the question was, is there a way to remove the key that is in the BIOS when you are refurbishing the device, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good question. So there is, and that's through Smart. That's through buying a MAR license through Smart. Because what happens when you do that is that you, as a TPR, a refurbisher, you submit your CBR report to Microsoft servers. And what happens then is that key in that MAR license from Foxway will then replace the key that you had in the BIOS.
Yeah, and I think to kind of cover on from that, the key itself in the hardware will still exist, but what happens is, as part of the CBR submission, the computer build report, that sits as the primary key for that device. So if the end user was to factory reset that device, the key that would be activated on that machine would be the MAR key, the key that it last had on it. Right. So, and that forms part of the CBR submission. And it will also, when you are refurbishing the device, and I know because I get this question quite a bit, is about autopilot and Intune. So I know that we haven't been specifically asked, but I did just want to follow up from that and say that, as part of the key injection process, as a recognized refurbisher under this program, if the device comes to you as a refurbisher and it has an Intune or autopilot lock on it, by injecting the key, part of the CBR submission process, Microsoft will remove the autopilot lock. So by using Smart, the autopilot lock will be removed. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think we'll have to wrap on the Q&As there. It's been a brilliant, fast-paced session. I think the key headline that I'm going to take away is that customer demand for compliant refurbished devices is only going one way, and that's up. And that ultimately, the key thing is you pay for licensing rights, not just the digital product key. Exactly. Thank you, Sanja, Jakob and Ben, for all of that wonderful knowledge. Before we wrap up, just a few quick reminders. A recording of this webinar and the deck will be emailed to your inbox in the next couple of days, so do keep a lookout for that. And for lots more information on compliance and genuine Microsoft licenses, please visit Smart's website, smartdpk.com, or do get in touch directly. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. And I think all that's left to say really is stay compliant.
Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.